I'm afraid we don't have much time. We need to move quickly. Do you hear that? Hopefully not. Today has been quite a day. I learned about a new construction job. Apparently, there are sidewalk smoothers, and their job is to use what looks kind of like an angle grinder to grind down sidewalks until they are flat. And a set of three of them set up on my block and have been grinding the sidewalks in front of my building for the last, I guess, 5 hours at this point. I can only assume that there's a next step to this process because the sidewalks maybe look flatter, but truly awful right now. There's like huge ground patches, ground meaning rough, I guess. But anyways, the constant interruptions from the noise has made it so I couldn't record this video, and at this point I'm not really sure if this is a lunch break or if they're gonna be done for the day at this point. As a random aside, I always super appreciate it when YouTubers include outtakes of them being interrupted while recording, because it reminds me that I'm not the only person trying to record videos in a not perfectly acoustically isolated environment. Quite the contrary, I record in a pretty awful environment. I live near a relatively busy street, and there is almost always traffic noise going by, people revving their engines, and now I can add to that list people grinding sidewalks. On the topic of noise, I generally record my videos on Fridays in the late morning or early afternoon. And I have convinced myself, right or wrong, that this is absolutely the worst time to try to record videos in a major city. I'm not sure if this is my mind playing tricks on me or a reality, but it seems like the second I hit the record button, every person who owns a intentionally loud car with a ridiculous muffler or motorcycle that is designed to wake up everyone as they drive by decides to rally outside of my window and drive around my block. And that's not even to talk about the sirens and other things that are constantly happening. I have hours of footage of me kind of sitting here stoically trying not to move too much while some type of noise hazard runs by my apartment. I thought a lot about trying to confirm whether this is a mental bias where I'm convincing myself that Fridays are bad or actual reality. But the way that human attention works, it's really, really difficult because when I'm not trying to do something that is noise sensitive, it's very difficult for me to figure out whether or not the noise level in my apartment is particularly high. Like on a random Tuesday morning, I guess I could set an alarm for every 15 minutes and then just kind of sit silently in my apartment and try and figure out if Tuesdays are in some way better than Fridays. But it's really hard to tell, and in reality, there's a lot of variance, and I'm probably just getting unlucky with noise these last few weeks. But that's enough ranting. This is a check-in video, and I wanted to talk a little bit about how things are going for me. And a major theme is going to be struggle. It's one that we've talked about a bunch of times previously in videos, and it's something that I have set an intention to do. I've recognized that I am someone that is particularly uncomfortable struggling in a way that other people can see, and I feel like I've been struggling a fair amount with this channel. But let's talk about some more specifics. On the YouTube talking head side of things, this is my 40th video, which feels pretty meaningful, but I'm really holding out for that 1 year anniversary of making YouTube videos, which is coming up pretty soon. That'll happen in November. Like I was saying, I've been experiencing a bit of a creative drought for, I don't know, 6 or 7 videos where I've struggled a bit to get excited about the content that I was creating and producing. I had a really good run of things with the Blender modeling videos and a few others, and then since then, I've been struggling to find topics that capture my interest and motivate me to go that extra mile. And that's a hard thing for me to admit, but I think it's also an important thing to talk about because I recognize that when I turn on the camera, I'm supposed to always be excited. right? It's an important part of creating an engaging video that I'm creating a dialogue that is engaging and interesting. And if I'm just kind of like a sad sack moping about in a video, that's not going to bring people in or create enjoyment or engagement. And sometimes creating that persona is easier than others. And I wanted to be transparent about that because I think that the weight of pretending that that wasn't one of the challenges that I was wrestling with is a weight that doesn't need to be kept a secret. I can admit that these videos can be difficult to create. I can be in a creative drought without that somehow diminishing the value of the work that I'm trying to do and the things that I'm trying to create. But more tactically, I also need to find some new challenges because I've gotten into kind of a pattern, right? I've got the lighting dialed in a bit more. The video editing process feels very sort of robotic, which means that I'm getting good at it, but it also means that there's no, ooh, I need to learn a new thing. So one of the goals that I have for the next set of 10 videos is to start finding some new places to challenge myself, some new things that I can learn and get better at as I press forward through this next set of videos, some that I will be excited to create and some that I will be not as excited to create. On the gaming side, I've had a few exciting moments. I had one Twitch streamer send their audience of 250 people over to my stream, which felt very energizing and exciting. I finished up my Darkest Dungeon series, which was an accomplishment and felt really good. And I've replaced that with one of my all-time favorite games, RimWorld. RimWorld is a colony simulator, so you have little people who crash landed on a planet, and it's your job to set up the priorities for what they're going to do, what they're going to build, and essentially you create a colony starting from basically nothing. And I find games in that vein are really engaging for me. I love the idea of starting from nothing and then building something, creating something. That's why I love Minecraft as well. You start out with this blank slate, and it is your job to envision and create the things that you want to create in that world. But overall, the gaming stuff is going well. I'm continuing to see a growth in my audience. I have more regulars that are coming by and hanging out on Twitch. And I'm even seeing some increased view time and views on the YouTube side of the gaming stuff. So I think overall that's going well. And I'm hoping that my increased focus on RimWorld in the near term is going to continue bringing in people because there's a new expansion associated with it. Overall, though, I'm working hard on all fronts. And it's something that I've been talking to some of my friends about and thinking a lot about, which is how to deal with the fact that I'm a bit overworked and I think starting to be a bit burnt out with the things that I'm doing. And it occurred to me in creating this video that that is part of the struggle. Part of the struggle is accepting that sometimes you have bit off more than you can chew or are trying to do more than you reasonably can. And so I'm going to do a bit of soul searching over these next 10 videos about how I bring my life more into balance, how I make sure that the things that I am creating are of a quality and really incorporate that learning aspect, where I'm not just going through the motions and creating another thing that looks like all of the things that I had created previously, but I'm branching out. I want to stop shooting in only this corner of my apartment, and I want that to be one of the challenges that I undertake. It's tricky because my apartment is very small and not much of it looks good on camera. Not that this looks great, but that's a whole different digression. My plan is to keep on keeping and make some changes and accept that making changes may be a regression in quality. I think that's one of the things that, especially in the last 5 videos, has become clear to me is that I am nervous about regressing. If I make changes to my setup or something else, I might produce a video that is of less quality than the previous one. And at one point, I was maybe okay with that. I always wanted to improve and feel that I was moving forward, but I think it's a reality that if I'm going to continue doing this and I'm going to wake up in the morning on Fridays and be excited to record videos, I absolutely need to be okay with the fact that the video that I create may not be the best video that I've created. Anyway, this has been a bit of a rant about noise pollution. I am endlessly frustrated by the loud city that I live in. Weird. And it's also been a bit of a what's the path forward, which is I want to continue learning, I want to continue challenging myself, and I want to be okay with when I make those changes and challenge myself that the results may not be entirely up and to the right. But for now, that's all I really had. This was episode 40, and I look forward to making it to episode 50. Bye bye. Not a potamus. Ponderous.